Hello, thanks for inviting me. Sorry I can't be there. I'm a long-standing admirer of the work of CHAMPS and in fact the broader suicide prevention work that takes place in Cheshire and Merseyside. It's about to be World Suicide Prevention Day. Very important day in the suicide prevention calendar because it tends to act as a focus for new initiatives, but also because it creates a platform for people whose lives have been affected by suicide to tell their story. You can see it in the media and on social media in particular. People, bereaved families describing what happened to them, what happened to their loved ones. Very powerful, affecting stories. And for me, very moving because I hear a lot of stories of this kind and it's impossible not to be impressed by people who can turn such overwhelming personal tragedy into something that benefits others. They have the admiration and the thanks of all of us in suicide prevention. It's also about to be publication day for the new National Suicide Prevention Strategy for England. First new strategy since 2012. And that strategy will highlight the importance of domestic abuse. When you look at the period when we've had a strategy, which goes back to 2002 when the first strategy was published, that period has been a time when suicide rates have been lower than in previous decades. And certain years in particular, 2007 and again 2017, have seen some of the lowest suicide rates on record. So the first message of recent rates is a positive one. It's that prevention is possible. That wasn't always taken for granted when we first started talking about a strategy 20, 30 years ago. But prevention is possible. The evidence is clear. So it's a positive message, but there is always something else when we talk about suicide statistics, and that's the fact that there are still 5,000 people in England who die by suicide every year. And while the figures are as high as that, the message remains a very somber one, that we have to do better. Now, why do we need a new strategy? Well, that obviously is the first reason. The current numbers are too high, but it is also a chance to bring new evidence to the fore, to update what we know from data and from new studies. And the new strategy will do that. It will place a new spotlight on domestic abuse, as I've said, but also on some other areas like gambling and online safety, of course, much in the news. The new strategy is also it's a kind of umbrella document. It sets out at a high level what people might need to know if they're planning suicide prevention locally. So it's a broad document that we expect to be picked up by a range of agencies, both local and national. It's an important message to the public that suicide prevention is a government priority. Not everything can be a government priority. There are many good causes, many areas of public concern. So the fact that suicide prevention has been selected in this way is also a very important feature of the document that will come out. Well, what do we expect on suicide prevention and particularly domestic abuse? Well, the document will say that we need greater awareness of some of the risks, and domestic abuse being one of these, in women, of course, but not all victims of domestic abuse are women. But there's a general message about awareness as a society, but also as frontline clinical professionals. We have to be thinking about domestic abuse when we might be assessing, I used to be a frontline clinician, when assessing somebody who is at risk of suicide or who has self-harmed. We need to ask ourselves, is there a possibility that domestic abuse may be contributing to this situation, and I need to take that into account in how I respond. So it should affect clinical practice. It should also be a message to the multiple agencies who at local level come together to form a suicide prevention plan. In the case of domestic abuse, it's the NHS, local authorities, the police and social care. The message is that we want you to have a response to domestic abuse in your local suicide prevention initiatives. And then there's the message for those families, people who are affected by domestic abuse, its victims, and the people who witness domestic abuse. And that message is that your distress has been heard. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you have a good day and take care.